an NME that we have cleaned the bolt, cleaned the ram, we've cleaned the eyes. Now the next thing that we have to do when dealing with an NME, if you've put a couple cases through, 2 or 3 cases, if you look in your owner's manual, it will tell you that you have to start looking at the poppet, which is located basically about here inside the marker body. And to get the poppet out, basically what we have to do is we're going to have to pull off the front block, which also has the LPR attached to it in the volumizer, as well as it also connects to the high pressure regulator, and on this NME through its slider on off. So what we are going to do is we're going to make this easy, very easy to do, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to loosen the slider on off. If you have a stock NME, then what you have to do is on your stock NME you're going to notice that on the bottom line you're going to have 3 screws that you're going to require an Allen key to loosen. Once you loosen them, you can just slide it right off. You have to slide it forward. Now this slider is also going to require us to loosen 1 set screw instead of 3, which is on the bottom, which is a little bit different than that used by a stock bottom line on an NME. So we're going to use an Allen key. We're going to take off this set screw. Make sure you put it in a place where you're not going to forget it. It's not extremely crucial since you can add it at any time, but if you have a magnetic dish that some people have, which is really awesome, this would work perfectly for it. So now with this thing we can unscrew one other part, which is going to make sliding the on-off easy, and that's this screw right here, which actually clamps down on the sides right here of the bottom line. We have the set screw which pushes up technically, and then we have it clamping on the sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Allen key and just do that. Now it will slide right out. And once it slides out, what I can do is I can take my rag and I can just quickly wipe that down and wipe down the inside where the on-off sits. Now that I've got now that I have the slider off, what I can do is I can take my NME and I can unscrew my high pressure regulator. So now we have our NME with the regulator and on-off and air line disconnected. So now what we have to do is we have to actually take the 2 screws. We have 1 screw that is located here, the back of your NME, and we have another one which is located right here, which we're going to have to unscrew to get this grip off. So we're going to take an Allen key and we're going to very quickly unscrew these Allen keys, these bolts. Alright, now that we've removed both of these screws, we can just take the grip and it'll actually just come right off. So what we can do is take a look for any paint or any buildup of any foreign matter that usually tends to build up between the body and the frame. So what I can do is take a rag and just clean this, clean underneath the ram sleeve. I'm just going to just give that a good wipe. And I can flip it over and do the same thing. Clean there, and take a look on the inside here, and clean that as well. So we have our NME, we have various hose lines running, and what we're going to have to do to get at the poppet, which sits here, we have to pull off the front block. Now to pull off the front block, we have to remove that screw, which sits right there. Now the problem is, and one weakness I see in the NME, is that, or at least one inconvenience I see in the NME, is that to remove this screw, we have to remove this hose barb. So what we need is, if you have one, it'll save you a great deal of time, is a 3/16 wrench. Now this is actually a Sears Craftsman wrench, and the part number on it, for those who are interested, is 43562. So it's got a 3/16, this is 3/16, and on the other side is a 5/32. This came as part of a set. Ran me about between $20 and $30. It came with a bunch of wrenches. So what we can do is take our wrench and loosen off the hose barb. One thing you might have to do as you're loosening the hose barb is use a finger to make sure that once it gets to a point where it can almost come off by using your fingers, it doesn't turn back the other way. Okay, so now that we've taken our hose off and our hose barb off, we can get to work. Now that we have our hose barb off, we can actually unscrew the screw that holds on the front block. Now this is the same size, this requires the same size of Allen key that is needed to remove the bolts that were here and here, the first bolts that we removed to get this whole process started. So we can use this Allen key and unscrew this screw. As you'll notice, this screw is much shorter than that of the screws required to remove the frame from the body, so you can't get them confused. Now that we've removed this screw, we can take the front block and slide it right off. So we've got our front block here, which I'm just going to put here for now, and we now have the poppet spring exposed. So what we can do is take this spring and just pull it out. And here we have our all-metal poppet, which we can use. And we're going to actually be lubing number 4 O-ring that's on the poppet. It's a number 4 O-ring if you ever need to replace it, or if you use the ones out of your parts kit and you need more. So what we can do again is take our dial 55, take only a little bit, because this O-ring is very, very small, so you don't need a lot to lube it. We're going to take our lube the O-ring, and I like to just actually put a little bit of lube on this whole back piece, making sure not to put too much, that it's actually building up. So there it is. There it is lubed, and you can then take it and drop it back in side. Now I've noticed that if you properly lube it and the O-ring's in good shape, more times than not, I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times, when you put the poppet back in, you'll actually hear a little pop, as it'll actually sort of suction itself into place. And in my opinion, that's probably a good thing, because in markers that is doing this, they're running flawlessly. So now that that is lubed, we can put it back in, and we actually don't really have to worry about anything else other than just taking a rag and just making sure that we just make sure this is clean here. Right, we don't want any paint getting anywhere. That's not supposed to. So now that that's clean, we can take a look at our front block.